Welcome to the third, I believe, meeting of MSAD52. The Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Peter Ricker. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll first act on the minutes. You just can't kick me.
I know. You're on your own.
Under control. Minutes of the 4th and 11th of September. Does anybody have any questions, concerns on either of those sets of minutes? Seeing none, we'll move to accept as presented. The report of the board chair is he's here. So we'll move on from that. I'm upright, woke up this morning. That's good for some, not everybody. That moves us to public comment. Do we have any public wishing to comment today? We got one. Do you have a piece of paper? Thank you. All right. Our board meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying out the official business of our schools. It is important to note that meetings of the board are open to the public, however, they are not public forums. At each full meeting of the board, time is allocated to provide opportunities for citizens and employees to express opinions and concerns related to the matters under consideration by the board. These comments shall be within the guidelines set forth in Board Policy BEDH, Public Participation at Board Meetings. Copies of the policy are available here and on the district's website. I would like to highlight the following. The chair is responsible for recognizing all speakers. We ask the speakers identify themselves by sharing their name and town of residence. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to express their views. Speakers should direct all comments to the board, especially the board chair. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to the opinions of the public that relate to the school and education matters. It is not intended to be a conversation or a debate of issues. We know that school-related issues can be emotional, but we ask that civility is maintained. We will not permit profanity, gossip, defamatory comments, shouting at one another, or comments that disparage or attack individuals or groups. The board is faced with many important issues. For the sake of efficiency, the board discourages duplication or repetition of comments. The board will not permit complaints or allegations against staff members. We certainly care about these concerns, but they are personnel matters, which the board is not permitted to hear in public. If there are complaints against staff, these will be handled appropriately through our complaint policy KE. To reiterate, this is just a highlight of key points. Please refer to policy BEDH for a complete description of our public participation policy. So, who would like to speak? Please state your name and town, though. Welcome.
Thank you. Jimmy Childs, Leeds.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Another school year, I guess. My boys are loving school. They're having a good time, all of them. So I thank the educators and everybody for making that possible. You know, from being here for so long, many things I've said been controversial or whatever. I'm not opposed to teachers or teaching. I'm actually for teaching and teachers. Because I opt out or anything doesn't mean that I'm against school what they're doing. It just means that there's certain things that I wish my kids not to see, mainly sexually explicit material, stuff like that. You know, I don't think the school's a place to talk about sex and sexual relationships and all that goes with that stuff. I realize you guys have a lot going on, you know. I think it's very good that you guys have parents in the district that still speak up after years and years. We watch other school boards like Augusta, and they're pretty contentious. There's a lot going on in their meetings, so you guys should feel fortunate that you don't have that, you know. And whatever it's been with me, it's never been like that with me. I just like to talk and state my facts, state my opinions. I do represent a lot of people in the Facebook world in our communities. I've had a lot of people vote for me for school board. I was willing to do this job, which, you know, ain't nothing that I wake up and say I want to be a school board member, you know, so I thank you guys for even doing that, you know, but I feel it's important for all of us to stand up, speak up. Freedom of speech is under attack. People are getting killed for it, unfortunately, you know, and, you know, there's just a lot going on, but I want to thank everybody for teaching these kids, for doing a good job with my kids. You know, there is some other issues with the opt-out that I am unfamiliar with, and I didn't really get full clarification on that. Maybe we can email and communicate better. I even get back to you to tell you what my issues were. I know that I don't know if there's something in place, like a policy, to where if a kid gets, you know, with the opt-out, something happens, like, where does that fall? Does it fall on the teacher, the principal? So I think it's important for the teachers and principals to want to know this too, because the whole thing with the opt-out, see, my kid was harmed last year. I had him opted out of the survey. And he came home and he read off questions that were on that survey, you know, about vaping and all this. My kid was opted out. I asked questions in the meeting and stuff because I wanted to find out, because that teacher, in no way in the world did that teacher think that she's doing something wrong because my kid, you know, whether he read it, heard about it, or whatever. So this is just the clarification I want, you know, especially when it comes to the books. If a book is left somewhere, my kid picks it up. If a kid that takes a book, talks about it with my kid, like, how is my kid protected? Is it only if he goes in the library and gets it when he's not supposed to? You know, like that's my biggest concern. We shield our kids from sexually explicit things, you know, and school's a safe place, you know. You think that you come to this school, anything you do here, like, you're safe. You know, I trust you guys with my kids. I trust you guys with my kids. So I thank you, and I hope to see us great.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak or address the board? I do thank you all for coming. Hopefully it will be a stimulating experience for you all. All right. That takes us to communications. The board chair is not sure if he has any communications.
Nope.
The board chair has no communications. Superintendent's communications.
I do. I'd like to report the following resignations. Jennifer Assen, Special Ed Tech 3 at Levitt Area High School as of September 30th. Harold Peasley, Custodian at Leeds Central School, effective 9/9. Janika Kelly, Special Ed Tech 3 at Levitt Area High School, effective 9/16. Mike Poto, Special Ed Tech 2, Turner Elementary School, effective 9/12. We have added substitutes at Turner Primary, Levitt and the middle school, just Levitt, and then across all of the schools that have footprint in Turner. So four subs have been added. And that's what we got.
Thank you very much. I do not believe we have any adjustments, correct?
Nope.
That haven't already
Well,
been
the
added.
adjustment
Yeah,
that's already been made,
Yeah,
the
that's already,
executive
but
session.
no new
at the end.
adjustments.
Yep.
All right. That takes us to committee reports. Ashley, and welcome back.
We did meet this morning. Our committee chart has been updated. It's the same one we voted on last year, but there was just a typo on the last agenda. We did meet, we reviewed the Goodwill well invoice, the TPS well, which came in higher than quoted because they had to drill down deeper. So that's coming out of reserve with an additional a little over 7,000 that will be coming out for that. Then Gabby presented to us the flex spending. So the flex spending account reimbursement, and jump in if I'm saying it wrong, Gabby. So it's about a $23,000 reimbursement that's coming back to the district, and that covers 2 fiscal years. And there's an option for how that can be used. There are very specific options. The district's admin's opting to use it to offset the payroll specialist salary, which is one of the ways they can spend that. And the reason why it's not just something that they can refund back to employees as like just a direct refund is it has to be very specifically allocated to employees in that time period that contributed at that point in time, correct, Gabby? Which would be time consuming for admin to go back and determine, and some of those employees may no longer even be in the district. So that money's gonna offset the payroll specialist when it comes in and that salary. And then we've been discussing a couple of different options for reports to bring forward to the board when we start doing the budgeting process. And one of the ones that we're gonna bring forward is Gabby's working on a draft to show a 5-year comparison of what the budget was versus what the actual was. So when we're looking at the upcoming budget, we can look back and see what the trajectory of the budget has been for each warrant over the past 5 years. I think that's been a question some of us have asked is, what was the budget last year or the budget the year before, so we can see how it's been trending and what we've actually been spending. So this report will show us that over the last 5 years. We'll be able to have that with the new upcoming budget. And we're gonna look at that at our next meeting or the meeting after. And that was it.
Thank you, Ashley. Any more questions? Bree?
Will that budget be digital? That sounds like an awful lot of paper.
It should just be one page, because it's just gonna be each warrant article and what the budget was 5 years ago, what was actually spent, so it'll just be 5 columns of budget to actual for each warrant article.
It's not gonna be a full printout of the budget.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
line by line.
It's an analysis.
Perfect.
It's more of an analysis than it is like the full budget.
Yeah.
I just want to
That would be
assure,
like
to make
five-
sure that you're
That would be
feeling.
like 5 more binders.
No, just a one page.
Not
You don't want 5 more binders?
It's so fun.
Binders of budgets.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Ashley. PTB, Alex.
Yep, we met yesterday around lunchtime. We did a walkthrough at TMS to have a first-hand experience of the lunch experience for the kids and the teachers and the lunch ladies. And I think it was a very enlightening visit, very chaotic with the kids. I think there was 150. I mean,
About
it was a seventh grade
170
class.
grade,
so,
yes.
yeah, around 170 each period. They run 2 periods right now, 7th and 8th grade. The TMS cafe and kitchen have been on the list of possible capital improvements for a long time, and as we've knocked stuff off of the immediate need, this is coming up as something we're going to start looking at. But yeah, so it was very chaotic. The kids are kind of all over the place. There's limited seating in the cafeteria itself. There's some in the hallway. There's some outside. So it's a situation where you can understand the teachers' kind of frustrations with the organization aspect of it. Then we went into the kitchen, and the kitchen is another thing that you've probably heard through the grapevine over the last couple of years. And my initial thought with some stuff like that is, how bad could it be? And I think it's impossible to overstate how small that kitchen is and how deficient it is to feed 350 kids over the course of an hour, I think, right?
Get them in and out, yep.
Right. So the kitchen to me is the biggest area of concern. You know, the cooking surfaces are very limited, prep space is very limited, storage space is more limited than either one of those other things. So that's going to be something that we look at going forward as part of the capital improvement plan. We're going to put together an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, that's going to encompass potential projects in that building. We had talked about the fact that if we expand the footprint of the cafeteria or the kitchen, the entire building would need to be sprinkled because of new regulation, new code. And I think the committee is firm in the belief that we want to avoid that. The price tag on that is roughly $1 million. Could
Probably
be
more.
So we want to try to avoid that. So we're hoping that maybe we can restructure schedules or maybe do some internal expansion. But that's what the RFQ is for, to bring someone in that can tell us the scope of what we may or may not be able to do. That RFQ will also include potential work at central office. The furnace is at the end of life. Dave expects nothing out of it at this point, so everything we've got now is gravy. And the building is also not ADA compliant, and it's the feeling that that needs to be addressed. So we're also going to be putting out, or we talked further about the sports field situation with lack of space and also maintenance procedures that we may or may not be able to do because of lack of space. So we're doing another RFQ in relation to the sports fields, whether that is expansion of existing space in the district, but we hope to be brought with some options that we can expand the use of our sports fields. We are also, then we talked more about revolving renovation funds that we're putting out for grant.
Volume renovation funds is some grant
Some grant.
funding and then some of our money that goes into it.
Right.
But the state would pay 69% of whatever the project is.
Gotcha.
We would pay the rest.
And for those projects, there's a project, a ventilation project at TMS in the oldest wing of the building, and also the Levitt roof. And then the last part of the meeting, we found out of some potential issues at the wastewater treatment plant. that revolve around a waiver the district received. There's a program nationwide called Build America, Buy America. No?
Yep,
That's
you
right?
got it.
So it's BABA. That requires certain components of certain projects to be bought from American companies, made in America, obviously. And the district attained a waiver through the state DEP and the EPA federal. And now we find out that that waiver may have been given to us in error, and there's a small chance, however small it may be, that they may take the waiver back. So the scope of that is that we may have to remove components that are not VABA compliant. And the feeling, Joe's feeling, my feeling, and I think administration's feeling too, is that the exposure level for this project is fairly low because of the components that there's just not a lot. I mean, there's certain things we know are made in America. We might have to take off siding off the building or something like that. So we're going to continue with the project. We thought the financial exposure was probably worse if we stopped the project and got the crews out of there and then tried to get them back, which is generally just not an easy thing to do. So that was the thought. So that will keep moving on, and we're hopeful that the waiver stays in place, but that is obviously going to take several weeks or months.
Should take weeks.
Weeks.
Our hope is not several months, several weeks.
Several weeks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nailed it,
Thank you,
Alex.
Alex. Does anybody have any questions for Alex and PTV? Not seeing any. That takes us to Crystal.
I feel like we didn't do enough tonight, following what you just talked about, geez.
That's what extra meetings are for.
Fair enough, fair enough. We'll tell Teresa we
Fancy.
signed her up for a whole bunch. This evening, we had a new policy come to us, ACDC. Sorry, I feel so- I know, right? We were very thunderstruck by it. Sorry. Thank you. Or it's the highway to hell, whatever. So we're going to keep that at the committee level, and Teresa and Carrie are going to do a couple more little revisions to it. We also looked at BDE, which is board committees, and that was just the addition of the curriculum and policy, just separating them out. So that will come for the 10-2 meeting for first reading on the consent agenda. And the other one was KDD, which was news media relations, and we are going to delete that because it's been put into the superintendent job description. So that will also come on the 10-2 consent agenda. That's it.
Thank you, Crystal. Does anybody have any questions for Crystal or the curriculum committee? Or policy committee? Seeing none? All right. Thank you, Crystal. That takes us to curriculum with Bree.
And we did not meet tonight. Our next meeting is October 2nd.
Do you want to discuss about laxness? Or,
About what?
Everybody else is working.
Wow. Wow.
No extra meetings.
Now we see how.
No extra meetings for us.
Wow. All right.
I'm sorry.
Here, whatever you send out, it could come back.
I know, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Administrator reports. I take it.
So Jana Mates is on the board of directors for the New England League of Middle Schools, and she had to be at a board of directors meeting tonight, so could not be here tonight. So that's why she's not here.
Okay.
But she did provide her report.
I'm going to.
If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to pass them on and then get information for you.
Anybody have any questions on the paper report we have in front of us for Carrie? Yes, Anthony.
I just want some clarification over what co-taught she's talking about. She says math is fully co-taught.
Co-taught means special ed teacher and math content teacher working
All
together.
right, so that's related to the inclusive.
Yep, so whenever you see co-taught, it is two teachers working together. In this case, it's a math teacher and a special education
Thank
teacher.
you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Seeing none, I do believe we have another person in the room that's asking a lot of questions. I'm doing my best to ignore him in the far back right corner. The cricket. The cricket.
Oh,
Cricket.
what is he talking about?
That cricket's very talkative. Dean Holst,
I am back.
welcome back.
I am back.
Lindsay joined us last year when Kim Fuller had a
I
family emergency, and she's gonna get the band back together and join us again.
I have. My band has gotten bigger. With help of Carrie, Teresa, and Rebecca, we've had quite a team at TPS for the start of school. It's very different from when I filled in with Kim. The beginning of school is typically in my role. Dealing with a lot of students with different challenges at the beginning of school is very different in, say, January or February when Kim was out. So it's really kind of been an all hands on deck approach, especially with new kindergartners, when we don't have plans in place for them. I've got some really great plans in place for my first and second graders, so they've been kind of like coasting along on their own with really great plans in place, so the focus has really been kindergarten and pre-K. Our attendance the first few weeks of school was at 97%, which is really awesome. We also finished the year at 94%, so that was really something we were pushing for high attendance. We did a lot of training in the beginning of the year with staff. We had HMH training for all staff on August 22nd. That went really, really well. I think staff got the time that they needed with their district teams, and also time with the consultant from HMH.
And that's the reading program, just to clarify.
Yes, that is our new reading program. And as far as referrals for students, they do appear higher. Our staff are reporting things, so I think sometimes that's where it looks higher. So there's also a lot of teaching that happens pre-K to 2 at our school.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions regarding the primary school for Dean Hurst or the superintendent or whoever wishes to answer?
Just need
I see Kyle.
clarification,
Sure.
on the staffing update, you had just another acronym, ASP.
So our autism support program, that's the way it's listed in the job posting. I know we're looking at not having separate programs. So yes, there are 2 positions there that have not been filled for quite some time. So we are trying to fill those with long-term subs the best that we can. And then we also have 2 of our own ed techs working with 2 students. We are waiting for BHPs from Woodward, so behavioral health professionals. Those are not staffed through their agency, so we are having to use our staff.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
Maybe it could be more for Carrie, but obviously our administration at TMS is reduced capacity right now.
TPS, you mean?
Primary school.
Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
What is the kind of the timeline on that? Is it just temporary for a few more months, or is
So
this likely
we have an
year-long?
executive session at the end where we are gonna talk about that very question.
Well, it
It's
sounds
like
wonderful.
you're a genius or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, no, we'll talk about it at the end. Yeah, because that is the question of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some people, for sure.
Well, for all of us who are keeping our heads above water, it is the question of the day. So we'll talk about what our plans are moving
Okay.
forward.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any
Didn't mean
other?
to pre.
No, it's all good. It's a good preview. No, what's the literary term?
For us,
I need an English teacher.
Foreshadow.
foreshadow.
Foreshadowing, thank you.
For those of you, can always be, you'll never know, but we will. All right. That takes us to Director Drysdale.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try to speak up.
Do the best you can, that's all we can ask.
I know. So in addition to the report that I've provided, 2 things I just wanted to mention was that we are hearing through the grapevine and trying to pull our students in for pre-K. We are hearing that there are more students out there who are 3 and 4 who may, through the child find process, be students with disabilities, and they might be able to access our services. So I just wanted to mention that this evening we've communicated, like I've shared with the board, we've communicated with centers and doctors' offices. We are getting referrals through our website as well on our webpage. But we kind of hear through the grapevine that our numbers look fairly stable from last month to this month. So I don't know when they're going to jump, but they certainly may jump up, and I just want to remind you that all of the pre-K work for 3 and 4-year-olds is being funded but fully by the DOE as part of their funding initiative. So I want to share that. And the other piece was that I'm just really enjoying being at TPS as a temporary principal, covering for Elaine. I'm not there as often as maybe Carrie and Teresa, but it has been a great experience to be part of the startup of the school year. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Anthony?
So you say that there are possibly 3 and 4-year-olds with unmet needs from CDS, Child Development
Yes.
Services.
Yes.
Is CDS slacking, or is this like standard and that's what we're for?
So we are now taking on 3 and 4-year-olds, they're coming to us instead of going to CDS. So a couple of things we're finding is that we, as Lindsay had pointed out, there are kindergarten students that are coming to us that last year were referred to CDS. They had, and I think there's we're told lots of different reasons why those referrals weren't processed, but we have a handful of students, a couple of them in each of the schools that are coming in to K that need to be referred because they didn't make it through the whole process at CDS. So we have kind of that going on. And then we also have students who are having unmet needs that are 3 and 4 now that CDS would potentially have picked up, but they have not. So I don't know if they caught wind that we were taking on 3 and 4-year-olds and they weren't holding up their part of the process that they're supposed to do or not.
Yeah, I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
So are they shirking their responsibilities? Is the state shunting this off on local communities instead of taking care of it themselves?
So the law changed for exactly this reason. CDS, which I will not begin to have any kind of understanding of why, but CDS was not meeting the needs of these students in their for students with disabilities for years. And so that was why the law changed. And the state of Maine was being pressured from the federal level because Maine was the last state to take on special education in the public schools for 3 and 4-year-olds. Like, we were the last state to not have this be the responsibility of the public schools. And we would have been fine to not take it on if CDS was functioning and offering those services, but it wasn't. I can't speculate as to why it was dysfunctional. So that's why the law changed and the legislature did that.
Kyle?
Do you know how many, like that you mentioned there's many that are getting referred. Is there a number that kind of like, is it like 3 or is it 20 or is it?
I'm not sure. I have Cheryl, my pre-K coordinator, coming to me and saying that there are kids in the pipeline in the referral process.
So right now, like, we have a chart here. Right now we have
Yes.
14 in the referral process. We have 15 that have already been identified. So 15 kids, we already have 3 and 4-year-olds who have qualified and have IEPs. We have 7 who are in the process and will probably likely have IEPs. And then there's going to be more. But kids turn 3 throughout the year. So it is going to be, we are going to be constantly seeing some new names just because when kids turn 3.
So, Peter. Do they have a, so it's not like they can, it's a running,
Yes.
so there's not like
Yes.
a time of year and so
When
forth,
they,
so it's just.
that
it's a
magic
running.
turn 3,
Okay.
that's when we step in.
Anybody else have any other questions? Kyle?
Yeah, the only one other question I had was, you identified the amount of time allocated to pre-K for the staff, which would be in charge to the pre-K funding allocation. How much time, I don't know if you guys saw it, but like, how much time is that you guys have allocated?
So what's being charged to the pre-K funding right
Yeah,
now?
Yeah, just for, like, I guess I just need clarification on what that looks like.
Gabby.
Do you want Gabby to?
So it varies between the employees themselves. What we're doing at this time is Ashley, our payroll specialist, and myself are checking in with Rebecca and Lucy to determine how much time for each of the teachers or ed techs are being spent specifically on the pre-K students. And then we are pulling out that number of hours or percentage of the salary, and we're charging that to the pre-K line. And we're doing that manually each pay period. I hope to, after several months, see a trend, and then we'll just be able to allocate that specific number of hours or percentage over time. But Rebecca, Lucy, and Monica, the special education administrative assistant, are spending a lot of time right now. So we're allocating a considerable percentage of their salaries because there's a lot of ordering to do, there's a lot of IEP meetings, a lot is happening to get this program up and running.
We have one full-time employee that is fully charged to this fund. And then everybody else is already existing and partially being charged to the fund.
So we won't see really until we at least get the
We
data.
need a year.
But we are checking in with all of our providers, right? So there's speech, OT, PT, director, assistant directors, special ed secretaries, all of those people are entering their information on a spreadsheet. We're checking in to make sure that we are allocating the appropriate amount to the pre-K lines.
Thank you. Kyle. Anybody else have any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. That takes us to, I assume we're skipping over some points.
Yeah, Teresa, yeah,
Okay.
no, Teresa's not here.
So-
We should have taken it off.
Superintendent MSAD.
Okay, so we had our first bus cancellations of the year this week. I'll just say, on Monday, we had 4 drivers out sick, and the only thing that got canceled was a single afternoon run. So I just want to say that out loud, that Jim and his team are like freaking out and trying to make it work and sorting it out. And then when we had the 2-hour delay here at Leeds yesterday, because of the sewer issue, there was a trickle down.
That was today.
Oh, today, sorry. Yesterday is when I found out about it and I did all the calls. Today, the calls. The trickle-down effect of that, because there, the drivers have a time during the day, they try and book their doctor's appointments and other things, and so once we bumped that as a 2-hour delay, there was sort of like, oh, now we had to cover these other runs. So we ended up having to cancel 1 full run today. That was directly related to the 2-hour delay. So Leeds, the 2 pipes going from the pump house to the leach field, discovered during the day there was water / something else coming out of them. As Shannon said, the grass is so green there. But one of the maintenance guys mowing sort of noticed that something was not right. And so Dave came out here, I think he said, Brody Hewlin, I would guess. He said Brody's dug it up. They had it dug up by 5 o'clock, identified the 2 broken pipes, had the new pipes here by 7, had them repaired in time for school to start with the 2-hour delay. So best case scenario. And when Dave called me, he said sewage at Leeds, and I said, stop. Is there any sewage in the building? I was like the only thing, and he's like, no. And I said, all right, keep going. As long as there's no sewage in the building, whatever else you say is gonna be fine. So nothing in the building was an issue. As Rebecca said, Teresa, Rebecca, and I are doing our best to keep TPS up and running. I think so far it's not terrible. Like it really is. They're being very nice to us. We're communicating a lot as we pass on information as we take our turn. It's a lot, but we're making it work. Yesterday, we did have Tyler Ham join for the early release to do some tabletop exercises, emergency planning, which I was able to be at and Teresa was able to be at, which was great. I attended the annual legislative update that Drummond and Woodsum hosts every year to sort of make sure superintendents are aware of new laws. It was the thinnest book since I started. It was awesome. It finished early. There weren't that many law changes. It was fantastic. So nothing really earth-shattering, anything that we really are going to need to do anything. We will see a change to the restraint and seclusion policy as a result of a law change, but it's a good law change from the school's perspective. It gives us a little bit more freedom to respond when students are physically out of control. So it's all good. I had regular monthly meetings. I started my monthly meetings with the association for support staff and teachers. We meet on a monthly basis to just make sure that our relationship is going well and we're addressing issues. Had our first leadership meeting of the year a week ago. I did monthly meetings with Evan, Jana, and Kristen, and continue weekly meetings with Gabby, Rebecca, and Teresa, although they are like having to be moved around as we're dealing with various things. So, and then the last thing, there's 2 items on the consent agenda. They are the nurse job descriptions for both elementary and middle high school. Those were revised to clarify what the nurse's role is. On both job descriptions, the one thing that's common, we clarified their role when it comes to dealing with staff medical issues. They were finding themselves in a position of like giving medical advice to adults, and that's not really their job. So we clarified that, and then I think the elementary one is clarified for when they need to do screenings, what screenings need to happen for the elementary age kiddos. So nothing major, but it's in response to some issues that they had been bringing to us, so we wanted to get that updated. And so that is what's on the consent agenda.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for Carrie? Not seeing any. No one's coming twice. All right, so that takes us to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to pull out of the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll now read the consent agenda. Consent agenda to be acted upon collectively unless a board member asks the specific time to be acted on individually. None was done. So 8.1, review and adoption of superintendent recommendation of job descriptions. 8.1.1, school nurse PK through 6. 8.1.2, school nurse 7 through 12. Do I have a motion?
Also moved.
Joe and Kyle. All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all right, all those in favor? Unanimous, I believe. All right, that takes us to old business, which I believe we have none, correct?
Correct.
No old business. It takes us to new business and our host for the evening. We have a presentation.
So the picture in the corner is one of the definite perks of my job. There was the student was going around and labeling his environment door. And so he came down, they were gonna label my office, and he was told, you know, label Ms. Bartash's office, and he came in 2 hands and just put it right on me. And yes, and this morning was the first time he came in and said my name, which was really cool, and really good for him. So I'm gonna try not to talk
Thank
too
you
much.
very much.
So our students here at Leeds, right now we have 185 students. We have 28.35% of our students have IEPs or 504, so they're getting special services of some sort. And 58% of our population is identified as economically disadvantaged.
Just gonna angle it a little bit.
Oh,
Keep going.
So this is our amazing staff. I have 10 classroom teachers, 1 pre-K teacher with an ed tech, 7 shared allied arts, PE, art, music, band, tech, and GT. We now have a full-time library tech and speech pathologist. I have 4 Title I teachers, 9 special ed techs, 6 Woodford's BHPs, a cafeteria assistant, and our custodian and kitchen manager have been doing amazing double duty because we had a night custodian for 2 days. Being in the building at night, he didn't like that. So they have been doing double duty and doing an amazing job of keeping our building clean during the day and during the night. And we also have, he's not in here, but we have Mr. Buster that we'll talk about later, one of our amazing volunteers. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about attendance, academics, our new goals, behavior, our school improvement grant that we've been working on for a year, and our inclusion model school grant that we've just started. So last year our attendance was to improve our attendance by decreasing our chronic absenteeism rate by 3%. We did not meet this goal, unfortunately. Our goal is to try to get 95% attendance, and we did not meet it. We had a lot of students that were truant. So based on, chronically absent. Based on Power School data reports, our number of chronically absent students at LCS nearly doubled during the 24-25 year. So chronically absent is missing 10% of their school days. And looking at it, the number of days missed by students did not change significantly between 23-24 and 24-25. So this suggests that we need to kind of look at a different distribution of the challenge. The challenge of the students that we had before is different than what we're having right now. On the positive note, there were 68 students who were enrolled at LCS in both 23-24 and 24-25 who improved their attendance. So looking at this, I broke down the numbers a little bit more with Count Me in Maine, who we've been working with. Students that are new to LCS experience slightly higher chronic absenteeism rate. Students with IEPs, excuse me, have a 2.2 greater risk of experiencing chronic absenteeism, and are highly mobile students. Those that have been here less, this does not include our pre-K students, are also pretty high. So the positives again, 42 students who attended reduced their number by 3 or more days. 7 students who were chronically absent in 23-24 were not chronically absent in 24-25. So we have a plan. We weren't real happy with this. So we were doing connection mapping for students at school. So one of our first staff meetings, we had every student name on a poster. And I had staff go through and put a dot by them. You know, what, do you have a connection with a student? Do you not have a connection with, you know, don't put anything. And we're gonna do it in reverse as well. We're gonna ask the students, who in the building do you feel you have a connection with? And try to pair those together. It was really not funny, but it proved that what we were doing was right, because I had a teacher come to me and say he was having a hard time with a student, and I happened to see that her name did not have any dots or any names next to her. So we're already working on trying to build that connection map for her at school. We're working on creating a clear welcome protocol for new students. These guys are together from pre-K to 6, and it's usually in one classroom. So I can imagine how coming in might be difficult for some of these new students. So coming up with a new welcoming protocol. And we also have individualized plans that our guidance counselor, Joan Turtelot, works on with new students. She meets with every new student that comes in to talk to them, to find out, you know, how are you? What are things that you like? What are things that you're worried about at school? What are things that you like about school? To try to make that a better experience for them. We're going to continue our Tier 1 supports for attendance and streamlining our Tier 2 interventions. And what we found out is that if we can get 2 students from each grade level shifted from chronically absent to just at risk, then our chronic absent rate would be below 15%. We want it below 10. So if we can get 24 of our students to improve to get their we would get our chronic absenteeism rate to 10%. I'm also looking at tracking this year. So when a student is out, I've got the categories set up. Are they out for illness, medical appointments, transportation? So as we start collecting data, I'll be able to see why students are out. And looking at the 10 days, when I pulled the data first, it was illness. We have a nasty cold going around here, and they've shared. Trying not to get them to share everything. So that's our plan to tackle that. Academics, so we set a goal. If you remember when we first got the Tier 3 status, the state said, you know, setting a goal like 1.5% would be a good goal. And the staff said, no, we really want to kind of set a 3% goal and trying to get our students to move 3% and in math and reading. And so we also looked at, there's 2 different ways that I looked at it. So there's a growth goal. So when you take an NWEA test, they take, especially as it gets older, they kind of they use a formula that I don't understand. They make a prediction of how far a student should grow, that maybe they grow 10 RIT points or 5 RIT points. And so there's the growth goal, and then there's the proficiency goal. Are the kids meeting, they're either at or above the proficiency? So we're gonna look at both of those for math and literacy. In reading, we exceeded our growth goal. Last year, we had 36% of students that met their goal, so met what NWEA said they should meet for reading their goal for their scores. This past year, we had 55%, so we went way above our 3% that we had hoped for. We have a new reading program, and I think that that's definitely helped a lot with our students. It's a structured program. The teachers are still getting used to it last year. this year, I mean, I'm expecting this to be even better next year. And for those, so this is the charts, and grade 1 should not be in there because actually that should not be in there, the first one. They don't take it, so that first light blue column should not be there. I'm not sure what happened. But, so you can kind of see the darker blue is where we were at last year for expected growth. And they really, like 5th, 6th grade really rocked it up high. 4th grade was struggling a little bit. And our proficiency goals, these are the students that are at or above where they would like the students to be. So it's kind of like in a 41% and up. And we exceeded our goal. We hoped for 3%, but we went from 60 in 23-24 to 68 in 24-25. So we have more students meeting proficiency. And this is where the percentages are, if you wanted to take a look. Mathematics, we exceeded our growth goal for mathematics as well. Our mathematics in 23-24, only 36% met the growth goal that they were supposed to. Last year we had 55% meeting their growth goal. And the number breakdown here. So we also exceeded our proficiency goal by not as much as reading, but we have a new program. The materials are just now starting to arrive. They were delayed a little bit, but they are starting to arrive. 23-24, we had 54% of our students were at proficiency. Last year we had 60. And with the new program coming in and everything else, we hope to make that even higher next year. And those are the numbers broken down. 4th grade was the group that struggled. So they're actually going into a 5-6 mix where there's one teacher that's just focusing on the mathematics for them. So we're going to set some new goals because we do have our improvement grant again. We are going to try again to decrease our chronic absenteeism by 3%. We definitely hope for more. That's what we hoped for last year, and it went totally the other way. We do, and we shared the plans on that. We will set the goal again by going another 3% for students on the main through year in grades 3 through 6 and the NWEA. So the tests are a little bit different between NWEAs and the main through years. We're having our younger kids do it. It's good practice for them. It's good information for our teachers. And if we can get 4% of students in math and reading each, we can meet that goal of 3%. And I expect it will be higher than that. Our behavior has been really good. So this is the scores of administrator majors and minors, the ones that the teachers are handling. This, I think, comes a lot in how we are doing PBIS, our expectations. We're teaching the expectations to the kids. We're using restorative practices when there's conflicts, making sure that they know what our expectations are, they're clear. And our school improvement grant progress. So the funds that we received this year were a little less, was from 42 to 38,000. We fully spent last year's amount. Cassandra is amazing, and we were able to finagle stuff. Spent every penny. I didn't want it to go away. We exceeded our academic goals, both in reading and math, and proficiency and growth. We did not meet our attendance goal. We currently have substantial approval for this year, so they're saying, yes, my initial goals that we've put forward are going to be good. I need to provide them now with similar information to what I've just provided to you, like what we've done, what our progress is, and what our plan is for the next year coming up. And the grant money from this all has to be spent on professional development. I can't buy a book, I can't get a person. This all has to be on professional development. So this is what we spent that money on. We did restorative practices. County in Maine, she came in and she kind of helped us look at our attendance policy. We use the district policy, but what are we doing as a building? What kinds of things can we do better? She met with the staff yesterday and kind of shared the information. She helped me come up with a lot of the numbers. We did clarity work. So we had Kara Van Das is her name. She comes in and she's helping the teachers kind of explain, being direct about what you're teaching. So this is what we're teaching, and this is why we're teaching it, and making the kids understand, I'm learning this not just because the teacher's telling me I have to learn it, but here's where, here's why I have to learn it, here's the goal of where I need to be, and kind of the progress isn't going along, so here's the steps to show. And one of the things that the teachers really liked was it's called a learning pit. And so you're here learning something, and it kind of normalizes that the kids get a little bit of a struggle, that it's okay to struggle. We don't expect you to get it right the first time. And I think that's been helping some of the kids with the struggle, that we expect this area where you're not knowing what to do. That's what we're here for. And I think some of the kids just really thought they're supposed to know it right away. And then it shows them coming out of the learning pit, and then there's the plots along the way. We had some LCS personalized reading program training. We asked her to come and just work with our staff. She came in, she observed some of the things that teachers were doing if they wanted, or helped them plan the next steps, and they said that was helpful to them. We started our inclusion work with some consultation from them, so I didn't really know much about it, didn't know the steps that I needed to take, so I used some of the money and they came in, and we'll show you some of the work that we've started. And then we were able to meet some individual teacher PD requests. So we sent some people off to Atlas training. The PE teacher wanted to go do something, so just some individualized requests. But every time it was requested, it has to go back to our 3 goals. Is it going to improve our attendance, our math, or our reading goals? So this year, we have been continuing with restorative practices. He came in one of our PD days and talked with the staff and just kind of got us back in the mode of here's how we do things, here's how we want to present ourselves. We're going to continue with county and Maine. We're starting a second cohort with the clarity work. We had a group of 5, I think, do it last time, and I've got 8 teachers signed up to do it this time. It's a half-day thing, so I do the younger kids in the morning, the older teachers in the afternoon, not teachers, but teaching the older kids. That way I can just do a sub for each half-day. And then there's a second session for those who started last year and want to continue, and that's looking like it's going to be more of a district-wide cohort so that they can share some information. We're going to be looking at getting some new support for our new math program and continued support for our reading program for our teachers. And then we have a lot going on, a lot of wheels turning. We were selected as one of 3 schools in the state, 2 in our district, that are inclusion model schools. We're in year 1 of a 5-year process. We have in place, we already have our inclusion team set, which is also my leadership team. We have, the schedule I've created is mind-boggling to look at, but I know where people are all the time. There's not a lot of break. So if I know at 10 o'clock I need somebody, I can go down this and I'm finding who has available time. We were able to find some ed techs and make sure that the students that needed support were getting it, because we had some ed techs that weren't meeting with somebody. So it's a pretty tight schedule, and it is mind-boggling to look at. Our IEPs are slowly being written to include services to be happening both in the special education setting and the regular education setting. Our staff will have opportunity to have more professional development as it comes through the University of Maine system. And we have our MTSS team that is up and running, that's multi-tiered systems of support, thank you, that's looking at our referral process. So we've just started kind of a system that we've got in place. We're looking at some kids, okay, so what are we doing? We're tracking that 6 weeks of data so that when we go to special ed, we can say we tried this intervention, and it either worked or it didn't work, and we need to get some more assistance for special ed. At the end, did you know we love this new color?
There was a picture in the presentation that had the old yellow.
It had the
I
yellow
saw it
in
and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's the same color as the
Fire extinguisher
Yeah.
box.
We're gonna leave that just for.
It's really stunning that that was the entire road.
It's not as bright in here, it's kind of depressing.
We'll see you over next
Fire
time.
to me.
Very shiny yellow.
If you have an opportunity, go take a look at our library. It's been redesigned to be more appealing to the students. Our special education rooms are open, more inclusive, more inviting. We are offering clubs for enrichment. Some of them have already started. So there are some book clubs, and some of them are happening at recess, so it's only going to be 1 recess a week, and parents are being notified. But we have some book clubs going on. We're going to have some technology clubs. The art teacher is going to do like a friendship club where they're making bracelets and cards that they can spread positivity around the school. We are gearing up our cooking club again. We're going to meet with them on Friday to kind of gear up our new recipes that we'll be teaching kids. And our volunteer, Mr. Buster, he's putting a plant in there now. He has planted 21 trees around our school, and he's paying for these himself. And if there's flowering plants out there, they're most likely from Mr. Buster. He loves coming in, and he volunteers. He has lunch. The kids adore him. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for? Yes, Kyle.
Back at the very beginning, the 58% identified as economically disadvantaged. We know how that's formulated into.
So I think some of it comes from the state, like if they're getting food assistance, and then we have them fill out the forms. I had a station out that they could fill them up on open house to get identified.
Gotcha. So it's more driven like what the state, the subsidies that come in and some categorized. Okay.
So let me just clarify, there's two different numbers. So for the official free and reduced lunch rate is if people are eligible for Medicaid, like the state will share with us that number. They're eligible for Medicaid or SNAP. So that's called direct cert, so we get that automatically. If they fill out the free and reduced lunch form, because maybe they're not part of those two lists, but they're eligible by income. And then there's one more number that we use for subsidy, and that's the alternate economic form. It doesn't get us any more federal money, but it does get us more state money. So it's a separate form. So it's sometimes confusing because we cite the number that we have on the subsidy form, but it's not the same number as the free and reduced lunch eligibility.
Thank you, Tom. Anthony?
Do you happen to know if the 28.35% of IEPs are 504s, is that a fairly consistent rate with the previous years? Is it up, is it down? Do you happen to know?
I do not know. That was last year's rate from the October 1st, so we'll have a new rate this year. I'm hoping it's lower. I don't know if you know if that's consistent or not.
It has been fairly consistent, only because we have had a district program here for students needing functional support. But as we are becoming more inclusive, and students are attending their neighborhood schools, regardless of disability, that may be reduced over time.
So there's a small number of Green and Turner kids here
Yeah.
because of the program. So it bumps the number up a little bit.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions or follow-ups? Haven't seen any. Thank you very much. Excellent. That takes us to review 10.2, a review and approval of the curriculum committee recommended revision of the committee charge. I'm going to read this in a moment, but I'm looking to the curriculum committee. Is this meet what you felt?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll read it, and then if anybody has any, then I'll take a motion to accept it, and then we can discuss it. Committee charge. To review curriculum-related matters before the board in accordance with Maine Statute MRS Title 20-A 1001, as well as MSAD52 Policy IGA and Policy IJJC. This includes taking a leadership role in the establishment and evaluation of the educational direction of the school district in conjunction with the strategic plan. This work may include, but not be limited to, the review of administrative recommendations, instructional materials, and courses of study. All curriculum recommendations shall be brought to the board for consideration.
I make a motion to accept it.
Do we have a second? Jenny seconded. Discussion on the committee charge. Yes.
I was just curious with the, but not limited to language, what the genesis of that was. Were there other things that the committee was thinking about addressing?
Bree, do you want to address that?
It was Anthony who brought it up, so I don't want to misquote, so I'd rather bounce it over to Anthony if you'd like to.
Anthony, do you mind
elaborate.
addressing, or? do you
Yeah,
want-
it just seemed unnecessarily limiting if the committee decided that it wanted to bring in somebody from another district who'd been going through a similar kind of review of curriculum, and they had thoughts that we wanted to benefit from their experience. That was not one of the outlined ways that we would be allowed to do our work. So we just thought, why build an unnecessarily small box to limit ourselves when we can just say, it's likely to be this work, but it doesn't have to.
Thank you, Anthony. Anybody, is that, anything else?
Well, I did, just to follow up, I mean, I remember when we created the charges, we tried to be pretty specific about what, state law said, and using references, trying to, not that we should unnecessarily limit the committee's charges, but that we wanted to put some bounds on what the charge was. So the addition of language that opens it up to too much, I think could be problematic. I'm not sure if this does, it's just the first, just what it came to mind. But I think all the other committees have charges that are discrete. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion. All those any other further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of the charge as presented? All those opposed?
I guess I'm the only one.
Sure. Right. Thank you very much. All right, 10.3. Approval to use the Capital Repair Reserve Fund to cover additional costs of $7,220 for well drilling at Turner Primary School. This was addressed during the PTB or finance or somebody, and we do have paperwork in our packet. Do we have a motion to spend this money that we probably already spent? We have a motion from Alex, we have a second from Crystal, we have a third from Kyle.
I'm not
all right.
writing that down.
Any discussion on this? I'm not seeing any, oh, Kyle has discussion.
Just look at it, so this was the original quote.
No.
This is a new one?
That's the invoice.
Yeah.
The original quote, I apologize, I thought that I had included that. The original quote was for $18,400. I'm sorry.
We assume it'd be 7,220 less than this.
I got confused. Can I speak?
I don't know. Sure, absolutely, we'd love to have you.
Thanks. So the original quote was to drill down 350 feet for a total of $18,400. However, they had to go a full 600 feet, so it increased the total cost by $7,220. But we have a great flow.
There you go.
Great well.
We're very excited. And it's good water quality.
Water.
Comes all the way from the tree.
All right, any other questions about our big hole in the ground? All right,
Sorry,
seeing none, all those in favor of spending the money? No, the fact of the matter is, it's all, just for the record, we already have the hole.
Yes, we do. We have to pay for it. It's just a matter where we're paying for it.
Was that
It
unanimous?
was
Yeah,
unanimous, I
thank you.
believe. I couldn't see Ashley, but I'm pretty sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right, that takes us to, we all received these in the mail, not the mail, in an email earlier. The discussion of Maine School Board Association, MSBA. I hate acronyms. 2025 proposed resolutions. We have those in front of us. Anthony has graciously requested and been approved to be our representative at the upcoming meeting. So I guess I'm open to motion. Do we have to approve them, or what? This is just
I
a
was trying to
discussion.
remember. I think it's discussion to just make sure Anthony has.
Has an idea where we
has
stand on it.
guidance, yeah.
Okay, and guidance.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't think we have a motion.
Yeah,
to
we
like
don't really
approve them.
have. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, suggestions on these proposed resolutions that will be deemed discussed? And Ashley, you and we need to talk at some point. You were thrown under a bus, if you never know that.
Thrown under a bus, it's only alternate.
So, does anybody have, didn't see your hand go up.
Heard nothing.
Does anybody have any questions, discussion, thoughts to pass on to Anthony on these? Do you folks want to, I realize we've all had them for a week or two, but do we want to take a second just to maybe refresh us for a minute? See a lot of page flipping. We can start quizzing on what number 3 is. What is it?
Which 3?
So,
Peter,
yes, Bree.
I mean, I'm just curious then, as Anthony is going to be our representative, any of his thoughts on any of these?
I guess that's a good, Anthony, I'm going to lead to you. Do you have any questions on any of these where you might think you might have a question on the general board direction you feel you should represent?
Yeah, so there are several that I kind of flagged for things that I just think are a little strange.
Okay.
I know that the number 2 tax policy, it talks about based on taxpayer ability to pay, which is a strange thing to stick into this resolution package. You have some people with very, very modest means who have no debt, right? And you have other people with very, very high income, but who look on paper to be unable to pay things like their taxes. So I have no idea what this means, right? Are they judging this the way colleges judge your ability to pay tuition, where you're incentivized to put a third mortgage on your house so that your kid gets lots of financial aid, when in fact that it's completely unnecessary? So I don't know what that is talking about. So I mean, I would encourage them to strike that and just try to make the public schools should be raised, the taxes should be raised in a fair and equitable manner. The ability for people to pay is, I mean, like people tell me on the campaign trail, they don't have any ability to pay extra taxes. They're taxed out, they're ticked. So some guidance on that would be great.
Peter, I have some.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll just tell you what I know is in process, because right now, it's based completely on property value. And so I think the goal, whether it's this specific thing or others, is to use other metrics to determine a community's ability to pay. So right now, the ability to pay is completely based on property tax. So I think the hope is that through some changes in EPS funding, that there will be other data used to determine a community's ability to pay. So like when we get our subsidy, this is how much Turner has to pay. Based on Turner's land value, this is how much the ability to pay that Turner has. But it's just property taxes. So I think that's the conversation at the legislative level about whether or not it should be other data than just that.
And I would chime in a little bit that I think we would have, I'm not sure where their thoughts lie.
There's
But-
reports being done, research, you know,
But I know
eventually
that there is
recommendations.
concern by a fair amount of larger school districts that the EPS formula is turning into less fair for the larger school districts, and they feel they need to get more like they used to, I believe is the
Yeah,
answer.
I can't speak to that.
But,
I
but,
think,
come on, let's put you on the side.
I
But-
think it's the concern around that it's just based on property tax.
Yeah.
So a
So, but I
community
think we
that
need to
looks
be
rich on
careful.
paper, its residents may not
Yeah.
be as wealthy as the land that their houses sit on, right? So like all the houses in our district, they're worth a gazillion more dollars than they were 10 years ago, but everybody's still the same people living in those houses, right? And they haven't changed. So I think that's the hope. My understanding anyway.
I just want to make sure, as we are still technically a rural school district, so we need to make sure that I would feel that we need to make sure that their guidance toward the legislature would make sure it isn't skewed well, it shouldn't be skewed either way, but if it's skewed, it should be skewed towards the rural district as us, as our representative. That's just my initial thought. Anybody else have any thoughts on the tax policy one? And of course, Anthony, I'm going to assume that if you're not asking for further, you're feeling pretty confident you know where the board would stand on something and represent us.
I think so, but,
Okay.
I mean, feel free to tell me.
Yep.
It takes the ambiguity out.
Are there any others that you have question from us on, or people might have question to give him some guidance on? That was, you said there was a couple, that was the tax one.
Right, so number 3, I know is a hot issue around the country. Maine is not one of the states that's challenging Plyler versus Doe, but other states are. Plyler versus Doe was one of, some of the rationale behind the Supreme Court's decision was that they were simply upholding a lower court's decision. So that lower court had opined that there really wasn't a cost associated with doing this, which I think time since whatever year that was, 1982, has taught us that in fact there's a huge cost to allowing a whole bunch of kids in who might need really special needs, like English language learner teachers, like that kind of stuff. So it can be extremely expensive. So I would be interested to know what you guys think about that.
That is a fairly hot button one that we could, so I think this might be one of those times where we as a committee, we as a school committee need to, if we want to make a stand on it, we need to give Anthony direction. If we want to stay on the sideline, we need to give Anthony direction to stay on the sideline. So does anybody feel overly strong on speaking out? I believe that, I don't know where the court cases stand at this moment. I believe that we have to at this point with the current legal status, or is that what's up for debate right now?
So the challenges are coming from states that are basically saying that the decision in 1982 would not stand today. So there are states that are trying to pass legislation that would allow them to say, no, we can't. If you're here illegally, you can't be expected to get a free education on the backs of people who are paying taxes.
I'm assuming that from what I'm reading here, they want to stay status quo is what they're moving forward with. That be your
That's how I read
interpretation?
it. I don't think they're suggesting a change.
All right. Is there any feeling on the board to pressure opposite at the public forum?
I'm not so sure we feel the need to oppose it, but I'm not so sure we should be overly supportive either. I don't feel a strong need to weigh in on this issue personally.
All right. So this one is, and I think Anthony's going to need some direction on this one. Basically, I'm going to look, as Joe just mentioned, do we support the board's, the MSBA status quo? Do we just stay on the sideline, or do we speak a secondary like some other states are doing? So we're going to go around the table. We're going to start with Kyle. In my opinion, those are your 3 options. Status quo, pro, or con?
I don't think it's necessarily, we should agree to stay at status quo. I mean, to question it and to look at it, because I mean, we're all strapped with taxes regardless, and, and it is a hot button right now, but I don't feel like necessarily that we need to, I guess, continue on this, avenue, I guess, to support the situation. So I would actually feel like it would be beneficial to actually at least speak up against it, or our concerns anyway.
Thank you, Kyle. Crystal?
I am for keeping the status quo. I think that children who are immigrants, they didn't have any say of being drugged here, and
children are legally, in the United States of America, legally required to be in school. And if they need extra services, then I feel that that is morally what we should be doing.
Alex?
I would kind of follow Joe, I guess. I'm not sure that the district is faced with a great stake in the issue.
Likewise, we don't have a large number of immigrant students in our MSAD52 district, so I don't feel like this is going to cause any major concerns or uprise from our community as far as the financial support for students that fall under this category, that we need to raise a lot of alarms. We don't need to, I don't think that we need to go against this. And I think that there are other districts in the community that can voice more because it affects those districts more. But I think I would recommend to Anthony to just sit and let this one be, because as far as MSAD 52 goes, we don't have a lot of these students in our district. It's not going to be a financial burden to us. For other districts, they can worry about that, but I agree too with Crystal that there are students in this state and the numbers are growing for our immigrant students, and they need the support and they need the education. But again, those districts that see those higher numbers can weigh in more on this, so I would recommend just going with the status quo and let this one be.
I myself would probably I lean towards Kyle a little bit, but at this point I would say stay status quo and stay on the sidelines, primarily because I think you'll be chasing windmills and losing. I don't think there's any chance of any sort of legislation that would go against the way we're thinking. So I would say I think it's just better for all to keep our powder dry for a different situation and just stay on the sidelines. Joe?
I started.
I know, but I just didn't know if you wanted to change anything.
No, I'll affirm.
Okay. Ashley?
I pretty much agree with everything Peter just said. Don't see it getting us anywhere, even though we kind of agree with what Kyle said. I don't know, so it's in our benefit, or it's gonna move the needle.
Yeah, I agree with staying status quo. I think it's something that we're not facing a lot in this district.
If I can, I would say that what you guys need to understand is that these are position statements that are going to inform a lobbying organization. So laws are being discussed around the country at the federal level. And this organization is going to use these as a directive to try to affect legislation. So if you say that, well, this isn't affecting our district, maybe not now, but when push comes to shove and we've got a bunch of people here, that's going to be it's going to be too late to change things at that point. So just be aware of that kind of that aspect of what the MSBA is.
Yep, I think we all do, but I guess the direction is for, as our representative, sit on the sideline on this one. So it's, all right, let's see, any others that we'd like to give him some guidance on? Carrie, are there any others that you would like us to focus on?
I reviewed them and thought it was a pretty mellow list.
Are there any others that you got any other questions?
You guys tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah. I think we're fairly comfortable with what's being presented by the sounds of it. So, I don't think we have to make any motion or vote or anything, correct? No?
We haven't done that in the past.
No, so there we go. Give us a warrant, tell us how exciting it was afterwards, stimulating. And, all right. That takes us to the end of our regular broadcasting. And we're going to executive session at this point. Do you have anything? We're good to go? Wait, do I have a motion to enter executives? Kyle is eager for executive. Do I have a
Make sure you
second?
read the whole motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do legal reference.
Yeah. Request. Kyle, pen back down. Thank you. Request for an executive session to discuss the duties of officials, appointees, employees pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection
Yep.
4056A. We have a motion by Kyle, second by Crystal. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Why don't we
Where
just
are we
use the
going?
library?
Library it is, folks.